I led a nomadic life, seldom staying more than a few days in one place. It was not until I crossed over into India that I was able to get back to work. In India, the daytimes were devoted to exploration. I wrote at night, and my windowless workroom was far from satisfactory. The air was always several degrees above blood temperature, and the oil lamp felt like a furnace on my face. The indicated place to work, of course, would have been the bed in the next room, save that no light could be lit there for the thousands of winged insects that would immediately enter. I went to bed in the dark. But as writers know, intense discomfort often helps to induce intensive work. At the end of 1950, I was back in Tangier. It was a memorably stormy winter, and I was living in a newly opened pension. It was also newly, read badly built, so that the rain ran down the walls of my room, across to the door into the corridor, and thence down the stairs into the reception hall below. Since moving around the room meant splashing through cold water, I stayed in bed most of the time while I completed Fresh Meat and Roses. Then I traveled for 8 months in Morocco, Algeria, and Spain, working sporadically on the third section, The Age of Monsters. In the autumn of 1951, when I returned to Tangier, I went up to Shawan to write the final section. Here in the absolute silence of the mountain nights, I accomplished what I had hoped to be able to do when I reached this place in the book. I shut off the controls and let another kind of silence guide itself without supplying any conscious direction. It went as far as it could go, then stopped, and that was the end of the book. The hero is a non-entity, a victim, as he describes himself, whose personality, defined solely in terms of situation, elicits sympathy only to the extent to which he is victimized. He is the only totally invented character. For all the others, I used as models actual residents of Tangier. Some of these people have moved away, and the rest have died. The sole character whose model remains here is Richard Holland, and this is because I am still here, and he is a caricature of myself. The theft of the money as it actually occurred was so improbable that I had to modify it to give it credibility. About 3 years after the end of World War II, the son of a famous English writer came to Tangier with his wife and decided to buy a piece of land and build a house. There was a ban on removing sterling from the United Kingdom, so, like many others, he went to see an Indian merchant in Gibraltar, to whom he gave a check on his London bank. The Indian was to instruct his son in Tangier to deliver the money in pesetas to Mr. X. But Mr. X was a grand gentleman who employed an English secretary to attend to such matters. When the secretary went to fetch the money from the younger Indian, he found the cash waiting for him, but it was in sterling rather than in pesetas, and sterling could not be spent in the international zone because of the financial restrictions. The Indian put him in touch with a money changer around the corner, who agreed to buy the sterling. The money changer filled a box with pesetas and took it to the Indian, saying that he was on his way to lunch and did not want to carry it with him, and that he would call by in the afternoon on his way back to his office and pick up the pounds. In the afternoon, the secretary called at the Indian's shop to say that he had just left the money changer in the Zoco Chico and that he had asked him to do him the favor of taking the pounds around to his office immediately. He went out with the box and was back 5 minutes later. "There, that's done," he said. Then he picked up the pesetas, thanked the Indian, and stepped out into the throng, passing through the Siagins. An hour later, he was on a plane bound for Madrid with both pesetas and pounds. The last report on him, which I heard a year or so later, was from Buenos Aires, where he was playing the races. P.B.